Part 2. The roof leaked. Mildred's tract home from the 1950s had a flat tar and gravel roof. The rain gathered in a puddle directly above the guest bedroom. As miserable as the summer had been for him, he found himself missing the dry weather. November at Hippie House was dreadfully cold. His sheets were damp and mildewed from the steady downpour. The electric heater was so inefficient that he would actually place the tiny unit on top of his bedding for warmth. He couldn't remember his last decent night's sleep. The insomnia was only partly due to what he considered to be subhuman conditions. He was deeply troubled, tossing and turning while the rain pounded down. Nightmares were occurring. In one episode, Mildred had become a monstrous black widow. Henry was caught in her web. He could tell the spider was Mildred by the scent of perfume. It was so strong he could taste it when he swallowed. She stealthily crawled toward her victim on long, spindly legs, and the red diamond became visible on her bulging black stomach. He thrashed about, but could not break free from the sticky net which enveloped him. As he felt the velvety legs wrap around his torso, he cried out. This woke him. He sat bolt upright in bed, clammy with cold sweats. It was as if he woke from one nightmare into another. The electric heater buzzed at the foot of his mattress, the orange coils glowing in the dark, the raindrops singeing on the metal grill. Henry's waking hours had become a lurid and surreal experience as well. There came a tapping at his door. He could hear her wheezing on the other side.
You okay in there, Hank? You all right?
The door popped open. Mildred stood in a polka dot nightie, her silver afro even wilder than usual, under the bare hallway light bulb. He thought she looked a fright and rolled over, turning toward the wall. I'm fine. Just another bad dream is all.
Well, you were so loud, I thought I should check on you. I was worried there might be foul play involved. Thought that someone might be breaking in. God knows it wouldn't be that hard. This neighborhood has gone straight to hell. Well, I'm relieved. I worry about you, Hank. You're very, very special, like my own son. You are family, dear. I will go and make you a cup of hot cocoa. Hey, why is that General Electric on the bed? That's dangerous. Oh, well, you must be cold. I'll fetch you another blanket.
She disappeared down the hallway, and he sighed. He lifted the heater and placed it on the tile floor. It was ice cold on his bare feet. He wiped the cold sweat from his forehead, and his eyes stung. He was delirious from exhaustion. The bird clock in the kitchen screeched 3 times. She returned with a rumpled floral comforter. She was winded and wheezing.
I want you to be warm, but you really must be more careful, Henry. Remember, I can't smell. Good God, if that thing were to fall over, this house would go up like a tinderbox. You know better.
I am sorry. No hot chocolate for me, thank you. He smiled politely and took the blanket before snapping the door shut. He stood and listened to the labored breathing for a long while. All at once, there came a bluish-white flash, streaming through the window. Then a thunderclap boomed, and the little house shook. Mildred gasped on the other side of the door.
The gods must be bowling tonight. No need to be afraid. Mama Millie is here.
Henry crossed to the elongated rectangular window and peered through the louvered glass. The rain washed down. The bamboo trees clawed against the siding. The light switched off, and she shuffled down the hall, collapsing on the waterbed with a slosh. He was a little surprised the thing even held water. He imagined that it must have dated back to the 1960s, along with the macrame and orange shag. He pictured Mildred humping her late husband while listening to their 8-track tape deck. The offspring would have been adolescents by then, and if Mom and Dad wanted to drown out their afternoon delight, they would have needed to crank up the hi-fi system. He thought about them splashing away on the faux satin sheets while listening to Sinatra, and it made his stomach turn. He thought about his dream while standing at the window in the dark. His toes were frozen on the tile. He thought about what it must have meant. What was the symbolism trying to tell him? Was his overexposure to the mother figure ultimately unhealthy, even poisonous? Mildred had become his lifeline for the time being, and he felt fortunate to have a safe harbor. But was it safe? Was it worth the cost of being haunted by a guilty conscience? He was living in a haunted house, her haunted house, with almost no life of his own. On Sundays, he would dutifully attend church services alongside her. He felt like an imposter in his polyester suit, shaking hands with upright citizens from the Christian community. But he could play the game. Henry was a survivor, if nothing else. He was clever as well. He viewed each encounter as a potential opportunity. Henry was living a lie. One morning, Mildred had begun her morning routine a little earlier than usual. Henry was seated at his desk with the door closed. He was reworking a Valentine's Day poem for Jennifer. I just want to say, you brighten up each day. Oh, lovely girl, you take my breath away. He wasn't happy with the convenient rhyme scheme. It reminded him of Dr. Seuss. Mildred's slapping sandals and scatting interrupted his concentration from the other side of the door. There came a tapping. He listened to her wheeze. Then the door opened, and she poked her head in.
I saw the light on. Thought I would bring you some fresh roses. Good morning, Starshine. Always thinking, that's my Hank. You have many of God's gifts, you know that.
She began to hum the tune from the rock opera Hair, and pushed open the door with her vase. He opened the top drawer of his desk and swept his notes in with a certain frustration. My, you're up early. What is the occasion? He noticed that her outfit happened to be a little extra tight-fitting this morning. Her daisy leotard must have been a challenge to climb into. The spandex looked to be a couple of sizes too small for the flabby mashed potato body. She gave him the grin.
I'm 61 years young today.
He had seen a copy of her birth certificate several weeks earlier when he met with Chase Friedman, the lawyer. Mildred was born in November of 1926. Henry had been called into the law offices to sign the agreement and fill out the W-2. He was put on the payroll with the title of caregiver. He was to be employed full-time, and his other responsibilities included cooking, gardening, general handyman work, and bookkeeping. Mildred could no longer be trusted to manage her own affairs with any accuracy. She suffered from dementia, and it was documented in her medical records. The cat was out of the bag. Henry signed on the dotted line and was put in charge. Having no surviving family, Mildred had engaged Friedman to rewrite the will to include Henry as her adopted son. She was leaving her property and holdings to a number of charity organizations and Henry. According to Friedman, upon Mildred's death, Henry would be receiving a substantial sum of money. This amounted to approximately 1/3 of her assets. While no figures were discussed, Henry guessed that her property alone would probably bring $1 million, even in the depths of a recession. But he was not dealing in reality. This was beyond his wildest dreams. After less than 1 year, Henry had managed to charm and finagle his way into her estate. His name now appeared below hers on the checks, and he was given a monthly household budget to meet. He was in control.
And this is what I want for my birthday. It won't cost you a cent.
She paused and adjusted her posture, tilting her pelvis to one side. She set the vase down before him. Cheap perfume had been generously applied moments earlier. He could taste it as he swallowed. Her eyes welled up and twinkled slightly as she stroked the furry boa around her neck. She took a step into the room and gazed down at him in his threadbare bathrobe. He was now trapped.
Hank, you are very special to me, and, well, it's no secret I've had a crush on you for some time, and I find you very attractive. I want you to... Well, I want you to make love to me on my birthday.
The room was dead quiet. The blood drained out of his face. The bird clock screeched 5 times.